Okay, so this is gonna sound crazy, but hear me out. We've lived in this house for 15 years. It's a rambling Victorian thing in a quiet suburb. Creaky floorboards, drafty windows, the whole creepy charm package. Never thought much of it. You know, typical old house stuff. Anyway, we decided it was finally time to tackle the basement. It's always been a bit of a dumping ground. Dusty boxes overflowing with who knows what from previous owners. Cobwebs thicker than a Halloween decoration. Me, Sarah, my wife, and the kids. Liam, 17, your classic brooding teenager, and Chloe, 12, always got her nose in a book. Figured it was high time to reclaim some usable space. We started by clearing out the junk. Broken toys, moth-eaten clothes, the usual suspects. But then, behind a leaning bookshelf, I spotted it. A narrow, oaken door, hidden perfectly in the shadows. It was locked, rusted hinges groaning in protest as I pushed against it. Whoa, what's that? Chloe bounced over, her usual book forgotten. Liam, naturally, rolled his eyes from the couch. Probably just another storage space, I muttered, more to myself than anyone else. But there was a nagging curiosity in my gut. That night, after the kids were tucked in, I mentioned the door to Sarah. Maybe it's a wine cellar, she joked, swirling her glass of Chardonnay. Wouldn't that be a nice surprise? I chuckled, but the image wouldn't leave my mind. Finally, after Sarah drifted off to sleep, I grabbed a crowbar from the garage and crept back down to the basement. The air down there was thick and stale, the only light coming from my phone's flashlight. With a few grunts and a shower of rust, I pried the door open. A wave of cold, stale air washed over me, carrying the faint scent of mildew. Hello? I called out, my voice echoing eerily in the darkness. No answer. Stepping through the doorway, I found myself in a narrow corridor. The floor was a rough-hewn stone, damp and slick beneath my feet. The walls were brick, running down into endless darkness. Something about the place sent shivers crawling down my spine. A primal fear, like I was trespassing on forbidden ground. But curiosity, as it always does, won out over caution. I took a tentative step forward, the beam of my phone flashlight searching for a way out. The corridor seemed to stretch on forever, the silence broken only by the sound of my own ragged breaths. As I ventured deeper, the air grew colder, and the flickering shadows on the wall began to take on unsettling shapes. Here and there, I spotted rusted cages, their bars hanging open like sinister grins. A sheen of oil glistened on the floor, reflecting the distorted image of my own pale face. Then I saw it. A metal door, set into the wall at the end of the corridor. Unlike the oaken door above, this one was ornately decorated with swirling symbols that sent a tremor of unease through me. I in the center of the door. A single iron ring cast a grotesque shadow in the flickering light. My hand seemed to move on its own, reaching out to touch the cold metal. As my fingers brushed against the ring, a deep, chilling voice echoed down the corridor. Don't go any further. The sound wasn't human. It was a rasping whisper, filled with an ancient malice that sent a jolt of terror through me. I scrambled back, heart hammering against my ribs. Panic clawed at my throat. I had to get out of there. I turned and ran, the flickering shadows seeming to chase after me. I burst through the oaken door, slamming it shut behind me with a resounding thud. Leaning against the cool wood, I gasped for breath. Was it all a hallucination? Had the stale air and flickering light finally gotten to me? But the memory of the chilling voice, the unsettling symbols, the oppressive darkness, it felt all too real. I stood there for a long moment, fear battling with a gnawing curiosity. What secrets did this hidden passage hold? What horrors lurked beyond that metal door? For now, I slammed a heavy bookcase in front of the oaken door, a futile attempt to keep whatever lay hidden below at bay. But a seed of doubt had been planted. A question hung heavy in the air. What had I awakened in the depths of our seemingly ordinary? The weight of the hidden passage settled on me like a shroud. Sleep became a battlefield of disturbing dreams. Endless corridors, echoing whispers, and glimpses of monstrous forms lurking just beyond the reach of my flashlight. Sarah noticed the change in me. The haunted look in my eyes, the jumpiness at every creak of the floorboards. I tried to brush it off, claiming stress from work, but the light tasted like ashes on my tongue. One evening, Liam, ever the skeptic, noticed my lingering gaze towards the basement stairs. Still playing detective down there, Dad? He smirked. Frustration bubbled over. It's not a game, Liam, I snapped. There's something down there. The words hung heavy in the air. Chloe, who had been engrossed in a book, looked up, her eyes wide with a mix of curiosity and fear. What do you mean, Dad? She asked, her voice small. I hesitated, then decided there was no point keeping them in the dark. I recounted my encounter, the chilling voice, the unsettling symbols, everything. A tense silence followed. Then, to my surprise, it was Liam who spoke. Maybe we should check it out, he said, his voice surprisingly serious. Absolutely not, Sarah and I said in unison. Come on, Liam argued. Dad freaked out, but maybe it's just some old tunnel or something. A spark of morbid curiosity flickered in Chloe's eyes. Maybe Liam's right, she whispered. Against my better judgment, I found myself considering it. The experience had shaken me, but the unknown gnawed at me. Maybe, with the kids present, with some preparation, it wouldn't be so bad. The next few days were spent in a flurry of research. Local history books yielded nothing about hidden tunnels or secret societies in our quaint town. Online searches led me down rabbit holes of conspiracy theories and urban legends, offering no concrete answers. Finally, we decided on a plan. We gathered supplies, flashlights, rope, a first aid kit, courtesy of a very worried Sarah, and a crowbar, much to Sarah's disapproval. We devised a set of emergency signals and a strict no-going any further rule. The night of the exploration arrived, thick with nervous anticipation. Armed with our makeshift gear, we ventured down to the basement. The oppressive air hung heavy, the flickering light doing little to pierce the gloom. We pulled the bookcase away from the oaken door, revealing the rusted hinges once again. This time, it was Liam who stepped forward. He took a deep breath and wrestled with the lock, the metal screeching in protest. With a final groan, the door gave way. The cold, stale air washed over us like a wave. Liam held up his hand, a silent signal that he was going first. He disappeared into the darkness, the beam of his flashlight a tiny beacon in the endless corridor. One by one, we followed, Chloe clutching my hand, her face pale but determined. The silence was broken only by the sound of our ragged breaths and the rhythmic drip-drip of unseen water. The deeper we ventured, the more unsettling the scene became. We passed the empty cages, their bars like skeletal fingers reaching out at us. The air grew colder, and the flickering shadows on the walls took on grotesque shapes. Suddenly, Liam stopped. His flashlight beam shone on the metal door at the end of the corridor, the one with the swirling symbols. It's the same door, he whispered. A shiver ran down my spine. This wasn't just some forgotten cellar. It was something more, something sinister. Fear tightened its icy grip around my heart. Just then, Chloe gasped. Pointing to the wall, she whispered, "Look!" Etched into the rough stone were new symbols, different from the intricate carvings on the metal door. They weren't ancient runes or arcane symbols. They were simple stick figures, hastily drawn and filled with a primal terror. One of the figures, the largest and closest to the door, held a crudely drawn object, a key. Below it, another figure, smaller and more vulnerable, lay prone at the base of the door. A horrifying realization dawned on me. The voice I heard, the chilling warning, it wasn't meant to keep me out. It was a desperate plea from someone trapped within. The image of the fallen figure, the crude key, these were not just drawings. They were a message, a plea for help.